Hello, this is R Rats with Team 4545 League, analyzing the game between Fireball and Egmont. This game was played in Team 53, Round 4, in the under 1800 section. Let's have a look and see. Okay, I don't know whether to give this move an exclamation point or a question mark, and let me elaborate. Alright, last event, Team 52, I analyzed a game between Fireball and Asya, and that game, and it was highly entertaining. It still remains my favorite game that I've done a video for, and Fireball employed the Smith-Morra Gambit, and in that video I demonstrated the alleged refutation to the Smith-Morra Gambit that seems to have been lost in antiquity. There's a history behind it. The story is on that video as well as the text that goes with it. I'm not going to repeat it here because I've already shown it. Now let me tell you where to find it. If you go to my website, which is linked here in the YouTube video or in my finger notes at ICC or my profile at a few other places, you'll find it. Then you just go to the tab that says Team 4545 League, and I've got two games on display right on that page. One of them is the game Fireball Asya. The other one is a game played later in the playoffs that was the consensus game of the tournament. They're both worth a look. Anyway, there's a link in that thread where I repost all the games in one huge thread over at another chess forum. And I've got them sorted by ECO code and opening name. So if you're just looking for your favorite opening, don't want to look at them all, although you're certainly welcome to look at them all, you can just scroll through and find opponents and find openings and have a great time looking at these. And all of the comments that the players made in the Game of the Week threads have been moved over, except for some of the most recent ones in this event, but I'll get to it. And there's a wealth of information there that people need to know, and I've seen a few videos I've made. I've said don't play this line, and somebody comes back and plays that line. Don't play this idea. If you're defending a gambit, develop. Next video, somebody comes back, doesn't develop, and gets slaughtered. So if you guys would all watch my videos, your play would improve, and you wouldn't have these quick losses. Anyway, back to more of this discussion. I feel that these videos are very, very important for the development of players. See, first off, let's just ask a simple question. If you could be a better chess player, would you like to? Well, most are going to say yes. Let's forget about the people that say no, I don't care. There are those. You're not in the discussion. All right. I can't promise everything, but if you see these videos, you'll certainly pick up some ideas and a few other things. These videos make excellent preparation for potential opponents. Let's say this: if you're in the Team 4545 League and you see that you're playing Mr. X next week, well, you can go to his profile and see a record of all the games he's played in the league, and you can also even look in his ICC profile history and library and find more games. You can get an idea of what openings this guy plays and how does he play them. So you can prepare a little bit for your opponent. And when I played in the league, I certainly did this, and I'm sure that people I played did the same to me. They looked at my games to see what I did. So it's an advantage that people can take advantage of, or it's an advantage that people can make it a disadvantage because they're not prepared while their opponent is. And let me say this, like, why is this game getting a video made of? Well, it's because I have all kinds of time. I love making these videos, and I have the summer off. And last event, Team 52, I posted in the Game of the Week thread, hey, who wants an assistant captain? I'll help out. You run the show, and I'll make videos for everybody on your team. Well, Fireball was the first one to act, and he grabbed me for two teams. Plus, I already assistant captain for an under 2200 team, so I found out I was at my limit. I couldn't take any more. And this is a lot. I'm not sure how long I can keep doing this. I can't promise the future, but right now, that's not important. What's important is right now, and there's plenty of resources available for you at your disposal. So, anyway, back to this game. What else can before I get back to this game, is there anything else? My big issue that I mentioned in these videos is that a lot of players aren't taking their time. They're blitzing moves. I had a guy a last tournament, he had a pre-move, and had he played a different move, he had legitimate drawing chances. Instead, the pre-move was just led to a forced loss, and because he was already playing on a lost position. So if people watch the videos, you get a little better chance. And I wish the videos had more views than they do. They don't. There's a lot of players in the league that haven't caught on to this yet. I hope they will. And there's a whole bunch of them for a whole bunch of videos for these people to go back and look at and learn something about your potential opponents. And I know that this league is really worth making videos for. That's one important thing. Standard play is your best chess. Blitz is just for practice, target practice and tactics, and maybe learn a little bit about openings and a little bit about endings, but it's not going to improve your play because you don't have time to sit and plan. So I believe this league is large enough and strong enough that it needs support like I'm offering, and there is evidence that my activity with this in the forum I've reposted all of this has brought new players into Team 45 League. There's one specifically, a guy by the name of, I can't pronounce it, Doulos or something, Doulos. He said he joined the league and he did it right out of seeing the videos. And I know another player that renewed his ICC membership so he could come over and play in the league. And I'm sure there are more that we don't know about, and there will be more eventually as well. So this is for the betterment of chess and for my love of the game and giving back for all the years of enjoyment that chess has given me. So I'm very, very active making videos. This is fun. Okay, so Black declines because he didn't see my video. Now, what did Fireball have prepared? Well, we don't know. He's not going to tell us because I showed him that this opening loses for white. So maybe he had something prepared. Or maybe he figured Egmont didn't see that video and he doesn't care because he can just go ahead and play his normal stuff anyway. Well, that's Fireball's secret. He's not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you either, even if he told me. You guys are going to have to look at that video and show Fireball. Okay? And it's no disrespect to him, but I want him to get beat by that refutation because I want him to learn something and I want more people to learn that there is a refutation to the Smith-Morra Gambit, and it needs to be seen. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, well, moving on. All right. So really, we're out of all theory now. I know that D3 is a way to decline the Gambit. Knight F6 is the more common way to Gambit decline it on the third move, but we won't get into that because that's a whole different line. And it's hard to say what's the best move here, but develop, as I always say, if you don't know book, which this certainly isn't book, just make a developing move. It's probably good. Okay, so now Black develops with tempo. He'll grab the bishop pair unless White does something, and White did something. He parted with the bishop pair, but he messed up the black pawns. And that's good in a way because it gives Black a weakness. White's got something to play for. But at the moment, both sides are lacking one thing, and what's that? It starts with a D, and the second letter is E. You got it yet? Third letter is V, and the answer is development. Okay, you need your pieces out so you can do something. Okay, so White does the right thing. He castles. Now, his king is exposed to a check, but that check really won't mean much if Black can't follow up with anything. He has Queen B6 check, King G1, and then Knight G4, but White has F2 covered, and White can just kick that knight out of there and go about his business. So one of the reasons Black doesn't have anything to go along with that is he doesn't have any development. Okay? So now both sides get the development going. White takes away the queen check, which is good. And Black develops a piece with tempo, but White finds a nice move. He goes and attacks a pawn, and that's perfectly logical. He's isolated that pawn on purpose with the express purpose of playing against it. Okay, so Black develops and defends. This is fine, but now we reach kind of a critical point. The pawn is now under attack. What's Black going to do? He's got to defend it. And or come up with his own counterplay. He could play knight d5 here, which has a... let's just take a quick look. What does knight d5 do? It attacks the bishop. That's a key point. White's going to have to deal with that. He doesn't have time necessarily to go grab this pawn. Although we can take a look, it does have the advantage that there's a menacing double check or discovered check in the works, but it comes at a price of a piece. Okay, now White has a rook under attack, and he's down a piece, and he's got a discovered check. So it better be a good one. Where are you going to put the knight? If you take the pawn on a7, the knight becomes pinned to the queen. If you take the pawn on e7, the king just takes it, and White plays rook e1 for the pin, and Black probably just plays rook e8, and after White takes the knight with check, Black puts his king on f8, and he's a piece ahead for a couple pawns. But I really don't think White has anything. Even after this check, you get one more in, and the Black king just runs to g8, and White's attack has come to a screeching halt. Actually, I even missed bishop can take on d7. But anyway, what else can White do? Play queen b3, threaten mate. Well, Black will just take the knight off, and end of White attack. Okay, so knight d5 has some merit to it. Okay, it attacks the bishop, and White has to make a commitment how he's going to handle that. Well, the logical move would probably be bishop d4. Now, if Black so chooses, he can play bishop takes knight, and then after the bishop recaptures, find a new home for the queen. And Black has given back the bishop pair, but at least he has saved his pawn. So that's a possibility. Black could play bishop d7 here and hold on to the pawn, and then he's threatening pawn c5 maybe at some point. But not yet, because the c5 pawn, the queen is overworked. It's guarding d7 and c5, and White will make wholesale exchanges on d7 and win the pawn. But anyway, let's see what happened. Okay, White defended the pawn a little differently, or Black defended the pawn a little differently. I always mix up White and Black. I just can't help it. I'm sorry. You'll get used to me. All right, knight d2, and now that attacks the bishop, and the bishop finds a new home, and it gets attacked again. So the bishop just got driven out. So bishop e4 seems to have failed. Okay, so now White collects the pawn. And for what it's worth, White's a clear pawn ahead with a outside pawn majority of 3-1. The game almost looks completely winning for White. So what did Black do wrong? I'll go back to declining the gambit. Maybe allowing his pawns to be isolated on the queen side, and then not playing knight d5. Okay. So now Black sees that his a7 pawn is loose, so he rushes it up the board. It really doesn't make sense to go into a position where you could have three connected passed pawns menacing you. So it's hard to fault Black for that. And this is a good move. It pins the knight so that White will be happy to trade off his bishop to get rid of a potentially dangerous bishop that Black owns. And White just looks for more exchanges, which is fine. And finally, Black castles. And now White's eyeballing a knight move into c5. And White could probably just take that knight, make some exchanges, but what he does is fine. He could also have played knight c5, but here he just figures he'll get rid of the bishop and go about his way. And White's got a couple of good knights. They're kind of tied down because, in effect, they're guarding each other, but neither one's under attack. And Black feels it's wise to get rid of that pawn. Maybe White shouldn't have so willingly given up his 3-on-1 majority, because it's going to take a long time for Black to activate his 4-on-3 majority, but he did it. But the game is still most likely winning for White at this point, but I probably would have tried to keep my 3 3-1 advantage, and Fireball can examine that on his own. Okay, so we just kind of go about our way, and White just seeks more exchanges, and as long as he's exchanging, White's making great progress. Now that attacks a pawn, and that's defendable. And that attacks a pawn, but again, that's defendable. And now Black's looking somehow to try to tie those knights down. They're both under attack, so neither one can move. Right? You move either one unless you have a threat. You're going to drop one of them. But White just finds a resource there, and Black goes ahead and trades. And not too much is happening. Well, this is kind of foolish to trade rooks. Black should try to trade knights and look for an ending that he can hope to draw a pawn down, because a lot of rook endings a pawn down can become draws. So now basically the rule with knight endings is you just consider them king and pawn endings. In other words, take the knights off in your mind. What happens? Well, White easily wins. Okay, and here we do that. We can see that that's true. White will just create a pass pawn on the queen side, run it, and while Black runs over to get it, White takes his king and infests the Black king side and starts gobbling pawns, and game over. Okay, so now that's a mistake that just walks into a fork, and here Black must trade knights into a lost king, definitely lost king and pawn ending, or keep knights on and still be losing, because he's going to drop his pawn on a5, and really the rest of the moves are just routine. There's no way Black can survive this. And here Black resigned. He's out of pawn moves, and his king must yield ground, and White will win this easily. He'll just pick up the a pawn first. Well, let's see, king c7. Yeah, he'll pick up the a pawn first, and Black can't win the c pawn in return and try and make White stalemate himself in the corner. Anyway, interesting game. I thank everyone for watching, for taking the time to do that. Much appreciated. I hope my words of wisdom helped about studying these videos, because it'll only help you get better. And when you get better, your rating goes up, and you'll be playing stronger players in the league, and then you'll learn more from playing stronger players. Even if you lose, you will learn. All right, thanks again, and we'll see you soon with the next video. Take care.